Welcome to the first and final word with Nelson Jordan. I'm Chris Nelson. Got a great episode for you today. We're going to be discussing the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles, the Los Angeles Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs, our Week 2 college football shout-outs and call-outs. We will be going over the Sunday afternoon NFL slate of games with our RedZone review. And we will also be talking about the Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube page, please go on and do so. We have tons of great content on there for everybody to go ahead and check out. Follow us on all of our social media pages. Guys, we're active wherever you do your social media. And also listen to us wherever you get your podcast, whether that be Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. We're on there. Go ahead, subscribe, and check us out. Download some episodes. Give us a listen. Tons of great content. So, I actually want to start off today by talking about the retirement of Amari Cooper. Just have a couple of quick thoughts on that I wanted to throw out there. So Amari Cooper, 10 years in the NFL, 5-time Pro Bowler, so half of his seasons. Those actually came in his first 9 years, so he was a Pro Bowler for most of those. Throughout his career prior to last season, which was his 10th and final season, he was consistently one of the better receivers in the league. His performance throughout each season, each game for the most part, was very consistent. Very good player. Obviously, great player at Alabama. Won a national championship as a freshman. Junior season, which was his final year there, he left early for the NFL. All-time great season by a wide receiver. And he was filling big shoes with Julio Jones having left a couple years earlier, so tough act to follow, and he did an outstanding job. He was set to return to the Raiders, who he'd started his career with, played his first few years there, tons of success. This feels like a big loss for the Raiders, who were desperately seeking a high-end wide receiver to complement their great tight end, Brock Bowers. And so it feels like that could hurt them, not having that guy, and obviously be interesting with last year was a rough year for Amari Cooper. Started with the Browns. Coming off was a really good season for him. They shockingly traded him mid-season, but he was plagued by drops with them, which was surprising to see. And then he played a small role with the Buffalo Bills where he was traded to. He didn't get to play a lot of snaps, didn't get many targets. It was a bit surprising considering, again, the season he'd had the year before and the receiver of his caliber. So it's going to be interesting to see how he would perform this year, but unfortunately we won't get to see it. Second receiver we've seen from the AFC West who returned to his former team, Mike Williams with the Los Angeles Chargers being the other, who then retired prior to the start of the season. The Chargers, of course, chose to go ahead and bring in another former receiver, bring him back in Keenan Allen. And we've seen some wide receiver unions across the league this year as well, with the Vikings trading for Adam Thielen from the Carolina Panthers to return to Minnesota. So some interesting storylines. Nelson, I know I threw a curveball at you with this one, but did you have any thoughts you wanted to add before we move on?
I think Amari Cooper was a great receiver. I think he had his moments, specifically with Dallas. We all know how good that offense was at one point with him and Gallup and the young Dak at the time. And I mean, we saw also too when he was at his rookie height with Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders offense too as well, which exponentially got him traded, I believe, before his actual first big contract that he would have gotten from the Raiders. So it's a sad story to see because you saw such a prominent player kind of fall out the way that he did, and I believe he truly wanted to go back to Las Vegas and this right instead of Oakland, and finish his career at least 1 year and kind of hang it up. But that fact that he's pretty much said, "Hey, I had no desire." It's not a good look. But at the same token, for the Raiders, absolutely, I agree with you 100%, Chris. Look, you have a Jacoby Myers, but who else is at your wideout position? We'll dwell into it later too with Brock Bowers and the what if now. So, there is a lot of major questions too heading in with the Raiders organization going forward. So, this is not probably what they wanted. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was surprising in his career to see a receiver of his caliber be traded at a mid-season trade twice in his career. That is very surprising to
Yeah.
have seen. So we'll go ahead and move on. So we had the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys 24-20. Nelson, what were your takeaways from the game?
Well, let me speak first of all. Jalen Carter, idiotic move on your part. And now you're looking at a possible 1 game suspension,
Let's hope not.
potentially. Well, let's hope not. But typically, and Adam Schefter reported on ESPN, and I'm sure he's going to say the same thing today in NFL prime time before the Monday night kick. But typically, when a player gets ejected, there's usually a suspension following. So, not a good look on Jalen. So, hopefully, the Philadelphia Eagles defense can get him back for the next game because they're going to need him against the Chiefs at
Yeah, I know what
Arrowhead.
the game is. Yeah.
But to my second point, I thought Dak against that vaunted, and I'm putting vaunted Philly defense did really well, surprisingly. He was able to move around the pocket. Now, granted, he definitely worked on himself this offseason. You could tell with some of the slides that he was able to maneuver in the pocket left and right, and he was able to deliver some quality balls to, whether it was CD Lamb or he was able to deliver also to the new receiver as well that they were able to get from the Steelers as well. So, all in all, I thought it was a nice performance by Dak. And my next point is, CD, what in the devil, man? Honestly, you are so highly talented. You're probably the third best receiver in the league, and you drop a couple of crucial passes. I get it. You might be hearing some footsteps, but Lord behold, you're getting paid all that good old money, and you drop two big time passes, one for which you definitely had in your breadbasket, and the other one, and I'm going to quote Shannon Sharp on his other podcast, you should have just ran underneath that and caught that ball. Either you were going to get literally hit and it would have been a PI, or you were running into the end zone with your speed. So I don't get it. I really don't understand with CD. And then to transition from speaking about CD and his drops and the defense as well, I like what I saw from the offense, mainly in part because we're still seeing the same offense and the capabilities, which is Jalen Hurts, the running ability, be able to utilize Barkley at the back. However, I did hear firsthand from folks that they were very, per se, unhappy, considering they have such a wide receiver corpse and they're still not using it. Now, granted, they're very run-oriented, but that still makes me question, are they going to continue, or are they going to still be the same vanilla offense, clearly, which is try to stop our run, and if you can, then maybe you'll have a chance against us. And then my last point is, and Chris, you were saying this earlier, and I'll let you dive very deep into it. It's really, really hard, and the broadcast announcer said it best. It's hard for a defense to really be as good as they once were for the Philadelphia Eagles and essentially replace all that talent they lost and to considerably be as good as they were last year. And I don't know if it's going to happen, quite frankly. That first showing by that Dak average offense and who we consider also an average maybe running back room at best, well, they were running up and down with them the first half, all over them. Granted, that could be the Jalen Carter spell, but granted, I mean, if that's one player and you're picking apart their secondary, I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
So I think the only positive things you can say about this game are that it was close, which for the casual fan who probably only turned in for the end of the game, I'm sure that was exciting, and there were some exciting plays. That's about it. It was so sloppy. It was an awful.
Even Mother Nature didn't agree with this with the weather too.
I was going to touch on that. Yeah, I mean, in terms of as a football fan, this was a horrible game. It was so sloppy. It was hard to watch. Jalen Carter, I'm going to double down on a lot of what you said and elaborate on some of it. That was just moronic. Even if you thought Dak Prescott was spinning at you, take it out in the game on him. Try to go get after him.
I agree.
Spitting on him and getting yourself ejected and not playing in the game was just terrible. And right off
I
the bat,
agree.
that happening set the stage for you're immediately just this game's that ruins the whole game. It ruins the whole game. He is such an outstanding player. It just ruins the whole game.
Uh-huh.
And the kickoff return prior to that and the first few kickoff returns of the game, it was just awful. We were seeing dumb penalties, so many personal fouls, 15-yard penalties. It was getting so chippy. And I hate this. It's Cowboys and Eagles that's supposed to be chippy. This isn't 30 years ago. This is the free agency era. Most of these players don't play for these teams for very long. They're not there long enough to really develop that animosity, even if you're playing against each other twice a year. It's dumb. We don't need it. We want to watch football, not that nonsense. And when you have it impacting the game with the big penalties and the ejection, it just ruins it. And so the Eagles are without him. They lost Landon Dickerson later in the game, their perennial Pro Bowl guard, and you could tell they were rolling on offense throughout the game, and he went out, and they were nowhere near the same without him. I mean, his impact is massive, and so that hurt them. You mentioned about the weather. We had a 65-minute weather delay, an hour and
something like that, about an hour.
And,
yeah.
In the late stages of the third quarter. I mean, so that's correct me if I'm wrong on this. Maybe we need to fact check me if I'm not mistaken. You're great with your stats information, but I believe the last time the Eagles were the defending Super Bowl champions 7 years ago, and they thus hosted the opening Thursday night game. That game had a weather delay as well, only it occurred before the game ever kicked off. I believe that was the case. And then we had the snow game against the Rams in the divisional playoff game. I mean, put a roof on your stadium, Philadelphia. Enough is enough. A
NFC
retractable
East
roof,
NFC East teams would like to have a word with you on that one, but no.
it can be
The way
retractable.
that look, the future is for yeah,
Dallas
I
has
agree with
it.
you. The future is for that. Yes, I agree.
You mentioned
But
NFC
yeah,
East. Dallas has a retractable roof.
oh, and another little spin to you too, as well. Not even the weather. The city of Philadelphia was this close for not having apparently subway service for all the fans getting to the game. So it's like a cosmic con of so many things. Apparently, just trying to work against the Eagles' favor
Well,
today, or
and then
excuse me, on opening night kickoff. It was just weird.
count CeeDee Lamb had 4 drops. Now,
That's correct. Yeah, four.
two of them, half of them, he was having to lay out to try to make the catch. Very difficult catch. So we'll maybe give him a pass on those. Although a receiver of his caliber, who's really as good a receiver as there is in the league outside of those
Okay.
LSU guys, should make those catches.
Okay.
The other two, he just flat out dropped.
Oh yeah.
Inexcusable. You have to make those catches. He had multiple drops in one game. A receiver of his caliber shouldn't have multiple drops in a season. He had multiple drops in one game in a
Yeah.
four-point game. The only good thing you can say about this game, other than what I said up front, is that I wouldn't even say good thing. The only takeaway from this game, edit that out. The only takeaway from this game is that the home team won. The home crowd got to exit, depart the stadium, relieved that they won. That's really the only takeaway at this point in time. I mean, the game.
Yeah, I mean, if yeah, I agree with you. If I'm a Philly fan, I mean, I'm
There's
walking away
nothing
from
to
that game
evaluate from
like,
that game.
yeah, I mean, it's like, what kind of game was this? It was so twisty and topsy and turvy.
You're
Just
just relieved you
nothing made
won,
sense.
and you move on. That's it.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it. So moving on, the Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 27-21, and what was the de facto home game for the Chargers against the Chiefs this season. The
Uh,
Chiefs will not play the
yeah,
Chargers in LA. It was played in Sao Paulo,
yeah.
Brazil. Hey, maybe that was the key to success for the Chargers because they actually beat the Chiefs, and it was yet another close game between those two teams. So who knows? But what were your takeaways?
Well, as if anybody can see on my screen, I mean, I got here essentially the game-winning play right here with Herbert sliding. So that's literally the cosmic image of everything that happened the entire game. Let me be honest. I was one of those, and I think we talked about this on the AFC West preview, and I'm sprinkling it before I get to my points. This is a telltale sign of what problems the Chiefs are going to have the entire season. And that's exactly what I saw, and I got confirmed on that Friday night in Brazil. The offensive line, everyone could talk about the rookie draft pick at tackle, a left tackle, but the rest of the offensive line, oh, that Chargers defensive line was eating them alive. They could barely have a good traction on rundowns. Now, when it came to certain passing plays, Andy Reid did have a few nice plays up his sleeve. I liked essentially what was a wheel route with I think it was a post corner essential a route combination that opened the door up for a touchdown. But it just seemed that the LA Chargers were just one or two steps ahead of the Chiefs. And this was the same thing that we saw with the Super Bowl. And the Eagles were one, two steps ahead. It amazed me how the Chargers defense did play to a certain degree because they did frustrate a lot of times Mahomes. We saw that on some of his drives. He could not deliver a good pass. Now, granted, Chris, I know you've been harping on he's not one of the best passers per se in the league, but he's very creative. But at the same token, that offense was frustrated. I don't think Travis Kelce by any means had one of his better games. And also on top of that, Herbert just went wild. And for me personally, I didn't see Herbert having a crazy, crazy game. But shoot, the man literally threw for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns. And we saw a resurrection in Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen is how many years in the league, Chris? I mean, that speaks for itself. I mean, he's been there since.
13? Is this year
Yeah,
13
he's
for Keenan Allen?
exactly. And I was listening to ESPN this morning as well, and it's amazing with Keenan Allen. He's had how many surgeries on his legs, and he's still produced. I mean, 7 for 68 and a touchdown. Quentin Johnson, the forgotten wide receiver, or at least they've been hoping for this type of production for years. But what was it? 5 receptions for 79 yards and 2 TDs? They were burning that secondary alive. 5. And I don't know if that was just Herbert having perfect passes, but that secondary was getting chewed up. And I said that from the start with the Chiefs. If one thing I was worried, it was with their secondary. Not necessarily maybe the rush defense, but their secondary. And Amari Hampton did not have a good day. But Herbert literally destroyed that defense. And then also to literally tie it up in the notch, Chris Jones, what in the devil are you doing in the last play that you literally let go of that game? Going up the wrong gap. You are such a veteran. You know better than that, man. That's my word.
Yeah, so I thought Justin Herbert was exceptional. Outstanding performance from him all around. I mean, he was really just incredible and really made a big difference in the game and a lot of game-winning plays, allowing them to win it. I thought for most of the game, the Chargers' defense was very good. Some of that may have had to do with the struggles of the Chiefs' offense, which was probably impacted by they came into the game, Rashee Rice was suspended for the game, and then Xavier Worthy got hurt on the opening drive, which on the third down, they went 3 and out. What is with the Chiefs hurting their own receivers with friendly fire? Last year, Patrick Mahomes ended Rashee Rice's season. Now Travis Kelce knocks Xavier Worthy
I shouldn't
out.
laugh.
Chiefs star players on offense knocking out their receivers. I don't
Yeah.
get it. And so then you're down both of those wide receivers for the bulk of the game, and they just couldn't move the ball very well.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown had a drop, and he was really the only guy they had out there for them. And who knows if that would have made a difference anyway. We saw actually a couple drops from the Chargers as well, which Justin Herbert
Yeah, there was
sensational.
magical.
But
He was magical
difference
the
was
entire game.
They overcame those plays and managed to sustain those drives and make the plays they needed to win the game. And there were so many moments in the game, and it felt like the Chargers made these little mistakes that you always see them make. And it's just like, here we go again. The Chiefs are going to somehow miraculously pull this out and get done. I mean, as I said, up until they blew 2 coverages at the end of the game to allow 2 big plays for the Chiefs,
Yeah.
the Chargers' defense was great. And outside of
Yeah.
that, they played very well. So, hey, man, the Chargers beat the Chiefs, and they did it in a close game, so they have to get credit for that. Big win for them in that regard.
Mm-hmm. I'll add a little vanilla note on this. This is
Yeah.
completely opposite of what a Greg Roman offense was. We, I'm serious. We're so used to Greg Roman rush offense, but damn, I mean, like I said, 34 passing attempts. If they can unlock that, that might be a good offense. Maybe.
Well, they clearly, and they obviously play the Chiefs twice a year, so they're very familiar with them. Playing them twice last year, both very close losses. And so they clearly saw something from those games and on film, on all,
Hmm.
that gave them the nod that they should come out throwing because that's what they did. And they had
Hmm.
success with it, so they stuck with it. And they weren't having a ton of success running the ball, as you mentioned. And so it just made
Yeah.
sense to go along
Yeah.
with that game plan. So
Yeah.
that's what they did.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to week 2 in college football, and you all already know we've got some
Hmm.
shout-outs and we've got some call-outs. So, shout-out Kyle Conradi, kicker, Iowa State. Second straight year game-winning field goal over the rival Hawkeyes. Big time. With
Battle of
under
Iowa.
2 minutes left, it's time to break a scoreless tie. And great performance by the Iowa State defense as well.
Oh, they were lights out. They were lights out.
To be
I can't remember
fair,
who was it
it
21?
is the Iowa
Number
offense,
21
but
was
credit to
flying
them.
around everywhere, right?
Shout out South Florida. Going to the and winning in the swamp in Gainesville at Florida. Outstanding stuff. Looks great. Great performance from the defense, holding Florida just 16 points on their home field. But
Yeah.
call out Billy Napier. Florida looked horrible. They looked so undisciplined. I mean, they didn't look prepared for the game at all. How many dumb penalties, mistakes, just mental breakdowns. They ran the ball on first down on their final drive with under 3 minutes left and a 2-point lead. Sorry, a 1-point lead, and then threw the ball down the field on back-to-back plays. Just stop the clock and gift this out for the ball back. You had talking about a defender spitting on an offensive player. We saw that player was ejected, 15-yard penalty to allow.
Yeah,
South
I
Florida.
just
And
couldn't
then a couple
believe
big
it.
plays came after he went out. Was ejected from the game. They had a complete
Yeah,
breakdown
yeah.
in the secondary
Brutal.
to allow a big play.
Brutal.
It was horrible. Yeah, it was horrible. Shout out Mississippi State. Blowing a 17-0 lead, surrendering 20 unanswered, and then striking back. We saw a breakdown in the secondary in that one. Receiver gets open and hitting him for the long touchdown pass to get the win.
Yeah.
That was awesome, outstanding. And, oh, man, those stupid cowbells were ringing so loud. It's so obnoxious. But, hey, let them celebrate. let them have it. Let those fans enjoy it. Call out the NCAA for suspending linebacker Jayshon Barham for Michigan for the first half against Oklahoma on really what should not have been a called targeting in the game, the previous game, in the first game. I mean, I get it by the letter of the law it was targeting, but come on. We don't need the guy to be suspended for the first half of the next game. And I'm not saying that Michigan would have won the game and taking away from Oklahoma, but their defense in all likelihood would have looked much better in the first half. We saw how much better they were in the second half, and adjustments could play a part in that as well, but we would have liked to have seen him out there for the whole game and seen what happened. So that just sucked for what was a big-time matchup between two great historical prominent programs.
Understood.
Shout out Missouri, overcoming an early 15-point deficit. We saw Kansas score 3 touchdowns like that. Couple on offense. They came out hot in offense, and then a scoop and score after they forced a fumble defensively. All Missouri came up was a couple field goals, but they came back and completely took control of that game and dominated in that border war. And we need to see that game more. It's been a long time since we've seen that. They are big rivals. You got the SEC against the Big 12 as well. I would like to see them play home and home, and then a third game. Every year I like to see them play, and a third game played at Geha Field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City because that would be fun. I mean, look, Kansas City is on the border, but it's mostly in Missouri. So, of course, it's Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas. So I think that'd have a great atmosphere. Obviously, we know how loud that stadium gets. If you fill that up with those two fan bases, that'd be a lot of fun every few years. And then we want to see them play each other at home as well. So let's get that rivalry revved back up. It had been way too long. Shout out for Kari Swain, the punt returner for South Carolina, taking Beamer ball to another level. 2 punt return touchdowns. Outstanding. And man, were they good. I don't care who the competition was or how poorly the punt team executed.
They've been looking good.
Good stuff.
They've been looking good last 2 weeks.
He's been looking good. He's already got 3 punt returns in 2 games for touchdowns. That's unbelievable. Call out the ACC. I know there's some buzz about some of the wins the ACC has had, but come on. Clemson was trailing 16-0 to Troy before they came back and won. Illinois went into Durham and just put a beat down on that team. SMU blew a 2-touchdown lead late, losing to Baylor in double overtime. Virginia blew a sizable lead, a double-digit lead, and Raleigh losing in what was a non-conference game. And come on, guys. If the two teams are in the same conference, this nonsense of us having to schedule as a non-conference game is just dumb. This is off-season talk. I won't go deep into it, but we've gotten out of control.
I was going to ask you that.
With the conferences, the way they're set up, and the way these schedules are done, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
I have a little bit more on that in a moment here. Syracuse needed overtime to beat UConn. It was so bad that their head coach, Fran Brown, had them run sprints on the field after the game on their home field, which justifiably so. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
understood.
taking away from UConn. They've been a good program the past few years, but come on. You're an ACC team playing UConn. Do better.
And they were heavy favorites against UConn.
Not even needed overtime to win that game. Virginia Tech got crushed at home by Vanderbilt. Was it 44-20? Terrible performance. Boston College went to East Lansing and played at Michigan State and lost in double overtime. Michigan State converted on their 2-point conversion. Boston College could not convert on theirs, so they lost the game. Florida State, I'm calling you out for your scheduling. You scheduled a home game against East Texas A&M. Really, you needed that? You're that desperate to get an easy win that you had to schedule that? And I've got to call it the scheduling overall that we're seeing in college football. Look at these scores. Look at the point totals. Look at the point differentials. This is not what we want to see. Stop it with this. We want to see two teams that are on equal playing field, equal talent, and have competitive games. People don't want to watch that. It's not exciting. It's not drawing in viewership. We need to do better. And as I said, I'm not going to get deep into what's off-season talk, but the NCAA and all of these coaches and programs and athletic directors need to get this figured out so that it can look a lot better. And one more call out for the NCAA. Fix the overtime rules. Let's just play an additional 15-minute period of actual football. The rules are so dumb. It makes you don't want to see a game go to overtime, which should never be the case. It's just awful, and we don't really ever know if the better team won because the rules just created so it's not a real finish to a football game, so it's very frustrating. Nelson, what do you have?
Well, I like to remind everybody, some of those, what we want, maybe is what Chris wants. Some of these cupcake games some of these cupcake games, I mean, let's be honest, the athletic directors and the presidents of the schools, they want the money to come in, to pay for everybody and their mother.
Nelson,
I mean, they're selling season tickets and all that stuff. I get it.
You want to watch that? Look at those.
No. I'm not saying. Listen, but that's been going on for decades, Chris. You know that, and I mean, even Alabama.
I know.
You know that, and I know that.
Usually taking it to another level.
Well, I'll tell you another reason why. I'll tell you another reason why it's getting worse. Another reason why it's getting worse because the NIL, unfortunately, NIL is causing a lot of this. And Nick Saban called it 2-3 years ago in front of the federal government, saying this is going to change the landscape of college athletics.
Yeah,
and quite frankly, he was spot on. Exactly. So either way, that's beside the point. Well, I do have a couple of call outs and I do have a couple of shout outs as well. I'm going to start off my first shout out. We have Indiana versus Kennesaw State. Indiana again. I mean, look, they're continuing their momentum. I get it. Kennesaw may not be on the same level as them, but hey, I've been high on these guys too, just like I've been in Illinois, who we'll talk about next. I think the Big Ten is represented very well. Shout out to Fernando Mendoza, 16 for 25, 245, 4 TDs, doing some good work. Brian Sarrett as well, 9 for 97 and 3 TDs. Good game, Indiana. Good game. Keep it up in the Big Ten. Illinois and Duke. This was actually a pretty feisty game at first, but Illinois pulled away. Listen, I've been high on Luke Ademeyer. Again, he had a good performance, 22 for 31, 296, and 3 touchdowns. Way to go, Ademeyer. Have a day. Wide receiver Hank Beatty as well for Illinois, 8 for 128. Listen, Illinois, they got some fire in that offense. If they can continue, who knows? Maybe they're going to give some trouble up to some of the bigger teams in the Big Ten. So let's see what happens with Illinois. Yes, to your credit, Chris, definitely one of my call-outs is FSU. Why in the devil do you have to be facing East Texas A&M? I mean, I get it. You want to hang almost an 80-point burger on them, but I get it. I mean, we don't need to see these kind of games from FSU to literally say that, we're up and coming as a program. I mean, come on. I mean, there's no need for that. Yeah, I know. We'll get more into that, but I'm in agreement with you on that too. I'm in agreement with you.
A lot of teams are doing that. It's not just them. I only called them out specifically because I was calling out the ACC, so I threw it in there. The ACC deserved to be called out. A lot of those teams. Plenty of teams had great performances, including them, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And then I'm surprised you did not shout this guy out, but I'm going to shout him out. Anybody know, does anybody remember Martin Gramatica? Team Gramatica used to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah. Well, he's the father of the son, Nico Gramatica, the kicker for South Florida, who kicked the game-winning field goal at the gun, and they ultimately won. Yeah. Unbelievable. He's a very good kicker himself. That family's full who knows? Kickers. So, hey, listen, I mean, honest to God, Nico, hey, you might be looking at the NFL potentially, huh? Maybe a return to Tampa, where your dad used to play. So shout out to Nico.
Are you saying that the Bucs need a kicker? It was there. We did see a missed extra
No, I mean, listen, kickers are always on the hook year after year. It's so hard to literally maintain as a kicker. You never know.
Sticking around for over 20 years in the NFL. I was thinking that yesterday, how hard it must be to enter the NFL as a kicker because these kickers stick around for so long playing for all these different teams. And it's just, there's only so many opportunities there's only 32 teams. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and my other call out would be to I'm going to talk a little bit about Michigan and Oklahoma here. Sherrod Moore, what in the God's devil are you doing with your quarterback? I get it. He's a freshman. He's 18 years old, but they were Kirk Herbstreit and I forget the other guy's name, the commentator.
Chris Fowler.
Yeah, they were both talking about it, and they were saying, well, I get it. You want to protect the kid, but there's a reason why he has some talent. You can at least extend the plays, get him on a rollout, get him on a bootleg, get him where he's running with his legs. But yet, all you're doing is playing the most conservative style of offense I have ever seen. The game was hyped even from the get-go on game day and everything, and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe there'll be some noise with Michigan. And sorry, Dave Portnoy, but clearly your Michigan Wolverines are not going to be as good as you think they are this year. Talking all that smack as usual on Big Noon Kickoff. But I just don't get it with their head coach. I don't get it. I mean, their defense, let's be honest, their defense is a very good defense. They played their hearts out. They tried to do as well as they could do, especially against that Oklahoma offense. Because I will give us a couple of shots to Oklahoma. Listen, John Metier, he had, sorry if I butchered his name, 21 for 34 for 270, 1 touchdown passing, 19 for 74 rush yards, 2 TDs. Yeah. That guy had a game, even though he had one pick. Yeah, even though he had a pick, he had himself a game. And let me tell you, he spoke highly, not of himself, but of Oklahoma and the culture and everything that they got going on down there in that program. And I told you about Oklahoma. They could be a dark horse, too, especially coming into the college football season. So I know this is just Michigan. They had a poor offense, but they got a strong culture down there, and I see what they're building down there. Deion Burks as well, 7 for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Congrats, young man. And also, do you remember that throw that Metier had on that scramble? I believe it was like second or third down. It was in the fourth quarter to ice the game. And to be able to throw, oh my, what a wonderful play. What a wonderful play. And especially the receiver too, having the wherewithal to understand, okay, my quarterback's getting flushed out. I essentially need to turn up the field and just catch the ball over his shoulder. I mean, Oklahoma, your offense is just fun. We saw what you guys did. Fun offense. And also, I want to give us listen, I don't normally give shout outs to also opposing teams that lose, but I do got to give credit because he was the only player for Michigan that was actually performing well. I want to give a credit out to Justin Haynes as well, 19 for 125 and 1 touchdown. I want to give credit to where credit's due because that was the only literally part of Michigan that was even moving at any point whatsoever in the game with their offense.
It's worth noting, Nelson, really quick. It's worth noting with that game. Sherrod
Oh, go
Moore is
ahead.
not the offensive play caller. Chip Lindsey is the offensive coordinator and play
But
caller.
he's still the head coach. Like you're making decisions though at the end of the day.
I am not.
Overall.
I've said it a number of times on this podcast. I am not a Sherrod Moore fan. I'm just not. But Chip Lindsey is the offensive coordinator and offensive play caller who spent the past 2 seasons at North Carolina where he did a horrible job outside of Amari and Hampton, who is just an incredible talent regardless of how
Yeah.
discussed he performs in the opener.
Yeah.
That is worth noting. You do have, in my mind, a terrible offense coordinator.
Coaching staff, almost.
In addition
Yeah.
to Sherrod Moore, who I don't think is necessarily a bad offensive coordinator. He just needs to be in the right situation, but he's not a good head coach from what I have seen on the whole. That's just what I want to throw in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say they're a whole bad coaching staff either, because you have what's his name, Wayne, was it Martindale or whatever his name is? He used to be the defensive coordinator for both the Ravens, Wink Martindale,
Don
for
Wink
both,
Martindale.
yeah, for both the Ravens and the Giants. So
Yeah.
that Michigan defense is not that bad. It's just
No.
if they had an offense that could at least score something, they could be in some of these games. But that was not a good
So we said
impression.
all last year.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, that's to finish my call outs and shout outs.
All right, good stuff. So let's get into our Red Zone review, looking back at the Sunday afternoon slate of games for in the NFL for Week 1. So Nelson, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went on their road to Atlanta and beat the Falcons 23-20. Your takeaways?
Yeah, this game was fun for pretty much the last portion of the game. The Falcons did get ahead early in this game, then Baker Mayfield and the offense kind of woke alive a little bit towards the middle part of the game, and we saw that, essentially Mayfield, he'll tell you this wasn't his best game by any means, but I'll tell you who had a great game, their rookie wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, 2 touchdowns, and that second touchdown that he had was, for the go-ahead lead, essentially. So, I mean, listen,
Not
the
essentially, it
Bucks...
was.
Well, no. There was a given opportunity for the Falcons to come back after Penix had essentially made a late, yeah. So all that fun stuff. So that's what I was going to attack on next. So that offense was pretty much through Mayfield and through the air. They pretty much did not have a rushing game by any means. We saw Penix. He had a good 4th game. I'd say for his standard, not necessarily that he's hopping off the screen, but he did have that really amazing touchdown run. Did anyone see that? 'Cause that looked like a Michael Vick clip back in uniform that he was able to extend, keep himself literally lunged into the end zone. That was a heck of a play make by himself. We saw a lot from their tight end. That everyone's been calling for Kyle Pitts. Yeah, we saw Kyle Pitts. He was active in the game. And ultimately at the very end, Penix had a shot to tie the game. And Younghoe Koo, you definitely left a lot of Falcons fans sour. You are usually a spot-on kicker,
Yeah.
and lately, and this is not the first time I've seen Younghoe Koo miss some crucial kicks. This has been going on for the last 2 years.
He had
I
some
don't know
struggles last
what's
season,
going
more so
on.
than we're used to seeing. But
Yeah,
it's weird how so many Falcons games in his career, which has been several years, have come down to a game-tying or a go-ahead field goal from him, and he almost always makes them. So even with the struggles he had last season, that was pretty stunning to see him miss that just because
yeah,
he
yeah,
makes it.
yeah. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Do you have any on that, or?
Yeah, I thought it was an extremely exciting game. I thought the Buccaneers defense did a great job of bottling up the run game. Obviously, particularly Bijan Robinson, but Tyler Algier as well. Bijan Robinson, though, was a problem for them as a receiver. That touchdown catch he had very early on in the game was a spectacular play, just showing the incredible talent that he is. And then Michael Penix Jr., you mentioned it. I thought he played really well, and the runs he had at the end, the fourth down conversion to set up the touchdown, and then the touchdown run, Michael Vick couldn't do that because only by being as tall and long as Michael Penix Jr. is can anyone do that. He was fully extended. The ball just barely got to the plane, and he somehow is levitating above the ground. It was spectacular. The 2 touchdown passes Baker Mayfield threw to his rookie receiver, Emeka Buka, were spectacular throws. He absolutely thread the needle.
Yes.
Perfect passes.
Yes.
You can't throw the ball any better than that.
Yes.
Both of them, including the game-winning touchdown pass, which was just incredible. I mean,
nice
that
pass.
was amazing from Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked about the end, so yeah, we don't need to come back to that. But that was an awesome game. It was so exciting. I loved it. And we had another close game as the Cincinnati Bengals, Battle of Ohio, went into Cleveland and beat the Browns 17-16. Nelson.
I don't particularly have a lot of thoughts with this game other than just to kind of say that I don't know what it is about these Browns. They always give Burrow and the Bengals a fit. Every time they play him, it's either a shootout or it's a low-scoring game. And the game, Burrow wasn't good by any means. I mean, the majority of his yards were definitely to Jamar Chase. It was a very lethargic game. The defenses were kind of showing out. They made a lot of plays. Definitely Cincinnati bent, but they did not break. I mean, how many times did we see the Browns offense drive into Cincinnati territory? Field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. I mean, it wasn't pretty. Joe Flacco, he had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He did throw for quite a number of yards, but listen, the game was just not pretty. And the Browns did ultimately have Joe Flacco was making an attempt to throw the ball to the third down line to one of his receivers, and unfortunately there was a essential hot potato at this point. The ball came into the breadbasket of the receiver's hands. And okay. All right. Well, either way. All right. So it came into his hands and then deflected right literally into the DB behind him for Cincinnati. Game interception to win the game. I mean, this game was the epitome of Cleveland and their luck and then Cincinnati. And it's like, what do we have to do to finally go at least 1-0 for the first time in how many years? Straight up. That was the storyline after the game. I mean, there was not much else to be said.
This was the most Browns loss. Their last 3 possessions were all ended by dropped passes. The first one was the one that you just mentioned where Joe Flacco was under heavy pressure, somehow managed to get the ball to Jerry Jeudy. Yes, it was a bit to Jerry Jeudy's right inside, but if he recognized the pass was coming, he could have moved in front of it and caught it. Even laying out for it, he still had a chance to catch it and should have made that catch. At worst, that should have been an incomplete pass, and they should have been able to punt. Yeah. And yes, it was a spectacular interception by the defensive back, but it just never should have occurred. That led to the go-ahead and ultimately game-winning field goal for the Bengals. And then they come back, and Jerry Jeudy dropped the ball again on fourth down this time. And so they give the Bengals the ball back. The defense bails them out and gets them the ball back without giving up any points this time after not giving up the touchdown the last time.
Yeah.
And so the Browns get one last chance later on. There may have been another drive in the middle there where they were backed up. They get one last chance, and the ball is dropped again. At least it wasn't Jerry Jeudy that time, but it was another drop. I mean, these receivers were getting open. Joe Flacco was giving them a chance to make the catches. Yes, that was another one where the ball was a little bit inside. The receiver had to make a tough adjustment to it, but the catch has to be made. And the Browns, if they catch those balls, sustain those drives, they should have been able to do enough that they ultimately would have won the game. Most Browns loss of all time.
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Colts beat the Miami Dolphins 33-8. Nelson.
DJ was popping off the entire game. Holy smokes. Did anyone think that literally Daniel Jones was going to come into at least against his Miami defense, who I think you and I have been quite high on? Again, they've had injuries at the corner position primarily, but it's not like they don't have a good front seven, and it's not like they don't have Mika Fitzpatrick back at safety. So for Daniel Jones to come in and literally just take off, I mean, 22 for 29, 272 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 for 26 rush yards, and 2 TDs. You're letting Daniel Jones do this? I think it's insane. It's honestly insane, Miami. You guys should be ashamed of yourself. And in Miami, look, your offense, what in listen, Tyreek Hill might be gone from Miami sooner rather than later. And I know you got some things to say on Josh McDaniel, but that offense was anemic. Go ahead, Chris.
The Colts scored on their first 7 possessions. Yes, most of those were field goals, but that is absolutely terrible defense. But I think the Dolphins' offense was the real problem. They got the touchdown and 2-point conversion in garbage time, but at that point in time, they were down 30-0, and then the Colts kicked another field goal for the icing on the cake. I mean, who cares? But you can sit there and say Tua Tagovailoa had a bad game, which he did. The 2 interceptions he threw were typical Tua Tagovailoa. This is why I find him so frustrating. He completely overthrew everyone on the first one and threw it right to the defender. And the second one, he just flat out threw it right to the defender. And he does this all the time, and I just don't get what he's doing. But Mike McDaniel to come out and say this isn't all on Tua after the game. Yeah, it's on you. You suck as a play caller and a coach. He's horrible. Why did they bring him back? I can't wait to watch the season when he gets fired. I mean, it was awful. Devon Achane was so good, and why did he only get 7 carries? I get it. You're playing from behind. You have to throw the ball. No, you don't. By the time you're in that situation where it's late enough, there's a little enough time left for you to throw the ball, the game was over. The result was determined. You easily could have run the ball more throughout and tried to establish that. Sustain some drives, kept your defense off the field a bit more and a bit fresher, allowing them some opportunities to get some stops, improved field position for them, allowing them some opportunities to get some more stops, and establish something on offense and maybe scored some more points. Yeah. And this has been a problem with Mike McDaniel throughout his tenure is he doesn't run the ball. He just wants to throw it, and he puts Tua Tagovailoa in bad situations, and obviously it's on Tua Tagovailoa to throw those throwable passes, but...
Oh, yeah. They were horrible. They were horrible.
The Las Vegas Raiders went into Foxborough in Massachusetts in New England and beat the New England Patriots 20-13. Nelson.
Now, the score, I don't think, indicated how up and down as far as possessions and how great Geno Smith played. And I say also Drake May. They both were delivering some good passes, moving the ball down the field. Now, granted, both the rushing attacks for both teams were not good. Genty, not a good way to start your rookie career so far yet, young man. Now, granted, that front seven for the Patriots were eating up your offensive line alive. So that could be one thing to be said. But the big elephant in the room, Brock Bowers, because Brock Bowers is having a good game leading up to that injury. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this Vegas Raiders offense. Now, granted, you have a good backup, Michael Mayer. He's a good backup. He's another good tight end, too.
He had a lot of expectations when he was drafted, and he was a relatively high draft pick for a tight end.
Mm-hmm. And he was Derek Carr's favorite target. Yep. So, he'll. Yeah. So he definitely will be able to spell, I'd say, whatever time that Brock misses. Now, granted, Brock is just a unicorn, so everybody keep a tab on whatever you see, whatever you hear on Brock Bowers. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt for the rest of the year and is out. Hopefully this is just a minor injury. But again, granted, this was just a close game. I thought the Raiders deservedly won this game. I thought they made more plays when it came down to it, and that was the game summed up in just one take.
Yeah,
What's your take, Chris?
I thought the Raiders' passing attack and defense were both very good, so a lot of credit to them in that regard. That's what decided the game. I thought they were very good in both those elements, and that's really what it came down to. And as you said, a close game, and so that's what I have.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals went to New Orleans and beat the Saints 20-13. Same score. Nelson.
Listen, there wasn't that many highlights of this game, really. I think the Cardinals were a little bit better. I was surprised, though, to be very honest, that their star running back did not get as many touches.
James Conner.
I was surprised because I get it. Benson, he popped off. He had a couple of big rushes, but with Connor and Murray, there's a dynamic that both of them have, especially in the backfield. You got to give that man some more touches. And Kyle Murray, he had a pretty good game for himself, I'd say. At least when it counted the most in the red zone, he had 2 touchdowns. He had a couple of good throws, and also, I mean, him contributing again the total rush attack too, 146 total yards rushing. The Saints, they hung around. And Spencer Rattler, look, he was making it very interesting towards the end of the game, wasn't he? Huh? Very, very, very interesting. He just could not make the additional plays that were necessary to win to tie the game at the very end. So give credit to where credit's due. Arizona, they made more plays. Simple as that, just like the other games that we talked about.
Yeah, a good win for Arizona on the road. It was a close game. Good performance by their defense, limiting the Saints to just 13 points and forcing the incompletions at the end to ultimately win it. The Saints made an effort to try to rally at the end. I would have liked to have seen on that final play Spencer Rattler throw a potentially catchable ball to his receiver. I think it would have been broken up incomplete anyway, but I would have liked to see him give his receiver a chance. And
Yeah.
so that was a little bit
Yeah.
unfortunate. But outside of that, good road win for the Cardinals. Good performance from the defense and get those
Yes.
completions at the end to close it
Yes.
down.
Yes.
The Pittsburgh Steelers went to East Rutherford and beat the New York Jets 34-32. Nelson.
We saw vintage Aaron Rodgers in this game with some of his passes, especially the last one where he threw off his back foot. I mean, there's only a few quarterbacks that can even do that.
I don't think he
And
was
Aaron
even- I think it was
Rodgers just brought
both
out.
feet, which he has done a lot throughout his career, just like Brett Favre did. He just jumps
Yeah,
in the
like
air,
literally.
feet off the
It was
ground.
just, honestly, it was just wonderful to see him play like that. And honestly, we're not going to see him do that the entire season. Justin Fields, he had a pretty good game. We saw him throw some accurate throws, had some really
the
good
end.
decision making as well. I love that touchdown to bring it back to one score. Do you remember that Peyton Manning play against the Dallas Cowboys?
That's a good
in that
reference
moral
from
victory.
2013, yeah.
Literally,
Yeah, what
that
a
was
game
the
that one
same
was.
exact play.
Yeah, except for
Holy
you
crap.
expect Justin Fields to run. The reason that worked for Peyton Manning is because no one expected him to run.
Yeah, but it was just beautiful
Good
the way
reference.
he was
Nice
able to.
callback going back 12 years. Good
Yeah,
job.
have a day.
It's
Have a
worth-
day,
it's worth
Fields.
noting that was the go-ahead touchdown before the Steelers responded, and also Cam Hayward
Yes.
was off the field for that play. Now he plays defensive tackle, and in all likelihood wouldn't have made a difference, but it's
Yes.
worth mentioning.
Yes, and that might have made a difference too because I feel bad for Hayward. You know, the NFL, they typically say it comes out to one play, honestly, and it was a simple kickoff. If it wasn't for the fumble on the kickoff, the Jets were winning this game. But they didn't because they literally they gave the ball back to the Steelers, and we saw Aaron Rodgers in less than a minute, 2 TDs. That's not the game, pretty much. If no one saw the game, that literally was the game.
Well, I actually feel a little bit differently on that, and I don't disagree with you on that at all. That is so true, but this was such a typical Jets loss because the other thing that impacted them was that they failed on two two-point conversion attempts. If they
Yes,
simply
I remember
kicked those
that.
extra points,
Yep.
then
Yep.
the game would have
Yep.
been
Yep.
tied late, and the Steelers still may
Yeah.
have won. Wind up winning. We don't know, but they took away their chance. And the first extra point they missed, and there was a penalty which allowed them to put the ball on the 1 yard line. But
Yeah.
instead of doing that, they should have just kicked it again. And if they make that and then ultimately wind up kicking the last one,
Right.
they would have wound up with the game tied at 34. They would have had their chance.
Right.
That play Jalen Ramsey made to win the game was outstanding. I mean, for him to close
Oh my
the
God.
speed on there was perfectly time it and hit the ball right where it was, just in time before seeing completion and win the game. That was incredible. What a play from Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen
And
Ramsey
it's
did,
not
yes.
just the closing speed, it's the instincts, the time it right, just the play all around it. That was an incredible play, and it's only one play. That was an awesome game.
True.
That was such a fun game to watch. I mean, 34 to 32 is a heck of a shoot. They were going back and forth all game. So it's saying Breece Hall was great.
I was thoroughly surprised how the offensive line was able to manhandle that defensive front from the Steelers. I'm like, where's TJ Watt? Where's Hampton? Where's this run stuffing ability from all their guys? And they were running all over them. So fun game. I agree.
The Washington Commanders beat the New York Giants 21-6. Nelson.
I thought it was an interesting game because from the Commanders, I thought this was a very C plus, maybe a B minus performance on their part. But from a player standpoint, I thought that Jaden Daniels was not his best game within the pocket. A lot of those sacks, you can't blame the offensive line. He tried to essentially either hold the ball too long or he tried to just do too much. And that's why the score was only 21-6. Bo was the other highlight of the game. I mean, honestly, he went ham in this
Really
game.
good game. He's the best player in their offense in the game.
And that run he had, that he was carrying somebody on his legs to get to the touchdown. It was just amazing from Debo. From a Giants standpoint, Ball, what are you doing? The fact that you said also that you're not going to guarantee that literally Russell Wilson after the game is going to be your quarterback for the next game, like, you got to be crazy. Because literally, even me, I know when your star left tackle is not playing in the game, it's obvious that Russell Wilson is not going to have the time, especially with this. Did you see Kinlaw? Chris Kinlaw was eating Wilson alive. And for you to say, oh, I don't know. Come on, Dayball. Those are my takes.
Yeah, credit to the Washington defense for limiting the Giants to just a couple field goals, keeping them out of the end zone for the whole game. That made the difference. The Giants clearly could not deal with those Washington wide receivers, especially Deebo Samuel, who had a really good game. Terry McLaurin was deprived of having a better game, and Jaden Daniels needs to be better. He had Terry
Yeah,
McLaurin wide open for a long touchdown run right
missed it.
through him.
Missed
And
it.
then at the end of the first half, he had an
Hmm.
intentional grounding penalty that ended the half. That cost them at least 10, if not 14 points. The game
Hmm.
should have been over at halftime. It should have been a massive blowout.
Yes,
They shouldn't have
I
needed a late
agree.
Debo Samuel touchdown run to ice it. That should have
Yes.
simply been the icing on the cake of
Yep.
a massive
Hmm.
blowout. So he needs to play better with how talented he is and the weapons that he has. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Carolina Panthers. Battle of Jungle Cats, 26-10. Nelson.
The Jaguars defense was pretty good throughout. They were leaving Bryce Young confused throughout the entire game. Yes, there was another weather delay in this game too, I think for an hour or so and some change, but listen, if you look at the score, it's pretty telltale. It's not even close. The Jaguars were so far ahead in this game. They outclassed the Panthers. And I mean, I feel bad for essentially Bryce Young too, because you don't have an Adam Thielen, you don't have your star rookie wide receiver due to injury. How are you going to help him? Especially when your offensive line can't even rush block either. Because I get it, Hubbard might have had one touchdown, but still, I mean, the rush game was anemic too. So, I, it, it wasn't a pretty game for the NFL standard. But Jacksonville, tip your hat to them. They had a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was a tremendous performance for the most part by the Jacksonville defense and a big win for them. They were pretty dominant throughout the game, so that was an impressive win and credit to them for that. The
Yes.
Denver Broncos beat the Tennessee Titans 20-12. Nelson?
Well, Denver Broncos, you clearly are riding lucky. Bonix made some plays, but it was not his best game by any means. That defense also for the Denver Broncos is legit. If anyone hasn't seen it, just watch the highlights. I mean, they were leaving Cam Ward to fire off rockets by the end of the game. I mean, they were leaving Cam Ward with nothing. Nothing. And I do have one call out on this game. Sean Payton, if you know that your team is barely hanging on to this game and your offense is barely moving the ball, but you know that your defense is stopping them at will, what are you doing, especially on Mile High? Throwing what kind of play? Yeah, let me just throw a freaking ball just straight up into the air, like if it's going to be like an anvil coming right back down, so that way my wide receiver can go up and catch it. Just kick the field goal and secure the win, or at least pooch punt it and make Cam Ward go 99 yards, or at least 90 yards. Sean Payne, I get it, you're a Hall of Fame coach, but use your head, man. That's my take.
Yeah, so realistically, game came down to the fact that both teams scored 4 times, but all 4 of the Titans were field goals, which credit to the dominant Denver defense for that, and half of the Broncos were touchdowns, and that was the difference in the game. I need to see Brian Callahan be more aggressive in his decision-making. He had 3 different instances in which he had a good gain on 3rd down and had to set up a 4th and short, and all 3 times he kicked the
You're not wrong.
field goal once and punted the other 2 times. You have to go for it in those situations and try to get those first
Yeah.
down sustained drives.
Yeah.
Because the reality is playing field position and kicking field goals didn't cut it, and it's not cutting it, especially
Yeah.
against that defense.
Yep.
Needs to be more aggressive. The
I
San
agree.
Francisco 49ers went to Seattle and beat the Seahawks 17-13. Nelson.
Well, these San Francisco 49ers, you guys were some lucky dogs in this game. Brock Purdy, I get it. You don't have your weapons. George Kittle went out with an injury and whatnot, but you made me scratching my head, man, throughout the whole entire game. I know Chris may not be the biggest fan. This game literally came down to CMC controlling possessions with drives and having essentially Brock Purdy scramble. I can't remember if it was 3rd or 4th down. It was in the 4th quarter. And he's scrambling to his right. He throws this ball straight into the right side where 2 of the corner flags are. And his backup tight end, I mean, you would think just by seeing it live, this is about to be picked off by the corner or the safety, excuse me. Somehow the tight end was able to box him out while he's halfway in the air, rip the ball out of the possession of potentially the defensive back, and then ultimately won the game. Because as soon as, we saw the Seattle Seahawks march down the field, because, by the way, that was a hell of a throw by Sam Darnold to Najigba. So now they're outside of red zone territory. And Sam Darnold, he just could not get rid of the ball any sooner. All you saw was a Nick Bosa, over his shoulder, fumble, end of the game. And that was pretty much the entirety of the game.
Yeah, so it was tough for the 49ers. They were already without Brandon Ayuk, and then George Kittle gets hurt, who had gotten off to a good start.
Yep.
Javon Jennings gets hurt. So now you're depleted. And look, Ricky Pearsall stepped up. He didn't have a lot of catches, but they were big catches, and he had that
Yes.
one going down the sideline,
Yes.
which Rick
Yes.
Woolen needs some criticism here. He completely misplayed that and mistimed that. And credit to Ricky Pearsall
Yep.
for creating separation, but he should
He
have
did.
played the ball. And
Mm-hmm.
he just lost it. He should have stuck with. Actually, he should have played
Yep.
the man in that scenario, not by interfering with him, but staying with the man and then
Yep.
tracking the ball,
Mm-hmm.
watching his
Yes.
eyes track the
Yep.
ball,
Yep. Yep.
have a chance
Yep.
to
Yep.
break that up. But look, credit
I agree.
to Brock Purdy for making a great throw to give him a chance, and
Yeah.
then Ricky Pearsall
Mm-hmm.
making that catch.
Mm-hmm.
And then George Kittle's out, so the backup tight end, Jake Tonjes, is in there. Brock Purdy,
Thank you.
unbelievable play, running around and scrambling.
Yeah.
He rolls out and he just throws this ball up, and it should have been intercepted again by Rick Woolen, but Jake Tonjes just took the ball away from him. An unbelievable catch for the go-ahead and ultimately game-winning touchdown. Just amazing.
It was insane, man. It was
Oh, it was
insane.
incredible. I lost it. And then Sam Darnold comes back and responds. We saw the catch from Ricky Pearsall down the left side.
You mean Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Yeah. No, we saw the catch from Ricky Pearsall down the left sideline for the 49ers.
Right. Okay.
Jackson Smith and Jigba answer with his own deep catch down the left sideline for the Seahawks
Yes.
to set them up. But the difference was the Seahawks failed to get the takeaway, and Jake Tonjes made the play. Nick Bosa stepped up and just pushed the left tackle right back into Sam Darnold, just bench pressed him, and
Yep.
got the
Yep.
strip sack and the recovery. Got the trifecta,
Yep.
the sack, the strip, and the fumble recovery. Incredible
Yeah.
game-winning play.
Incredible.
And the 49ers escape Seattle in an extremely loud, hostile environment, as always, with that
Yeah.
win. But look,
Yeah.
if their guys healthy, then it likely doesn't come down to that. So I do feel the better team won that game. And we saw them go to Seattle with some guys out last year and take it to the Seahawks. And I know it was last year in different circumstances, but
Seattle's always tough too. I mean, it's one of the most hostile stadiums that we'll go into.
yeah. The Green Bay Packers beat the Detroit Lions 27-13. Nelson.
The Detroit Lions, especially with their new coordinators, I know you harped on it as well, and that offensive line, especially replacing your center and also replacing as well your right guard as well. I mean, listen, the defensive line was just feasting on your offensive line. Goff was just like a deer in the headlights a majority of the game. He was erratic with his throws. They were not on time. I mean, it was expected. And Micah Parsons also. I know that Micah Parsons did not play a bunch of snaps yesterday. He did not. But Micah Parsons proved it. I think he had like only 32 snaps or something like that. One of the snaps that he had, he was rushing Goff, and Goff threw a pick because of it. Another one, if I recall correctly, the Detroit Lions were pinned deep into territory, and literally because of and he forced a sack on Goff too. And I thought it could have been a safety, quite frankly, but somehow Goff managed to continue to stay upright and literally be on the first or second yard. So I mean, you could definitely see the presence of just how Parsons alone to that defense makes them. Because when he was on the field too, Goff's percentages too and completion were way down. Your thoughts?
Impressive performance from the Green Bay defense. Absolutely. Losing your all-pro center is massive, no doubt about it. But very impressive performance from the Packers defense, despite Micah Parsons only playing around 30 snaps. So they got it done. It does need to be shouted out. Isaac Tesla, what a catch for the lone Lions touchdown. Yes, it came in garbage time, but that was a heck of a catch for the rookie receiver. So he needs a shout-out for that one. That was awesome if there's one bright spot for the Lions, but very impressive from the Packers. They took it to them.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Rams beat the Houston Texans 14-9. Nelson.
Well, this game was a very defensive game. Both defenses definitely stepped up to the plate here. There was a lot of big hits, and boy, was I enjoying watching Kevin Harlan call this game. And there was no better commentator for those hits, especially. I thought C.J. Stroud, again, it's obvious, especially with the offensive line he had. It was not his best game by any means, but the LA Rams were just too much. Puka Nacua, 10 catches, over 100 yards. Stafford, big accomplishment. I believe it was over 60,000 yards passing now in his career. And ultimately, the game really did come down to the last 5-6 minutes in the game. We saw the Houston Texans essentially shut them out. They denied them on a key third down, and it was a beautiful hit, too, by the linebacker for the Houston Texans. It was a beautiful hit on the tight end. And then right after that, they were able to move the ball down the field with CJ Stroud, surprisingly. Of course, there were a couple of penalties that kind of helped out in that sense as well. But what a way for that game to end. Because again, I've been saying it since the start. It was a defensive just style hit in the mouth, jarring plays, and same thing happened. Final play. A ball delivered by CJ Stroud over to the receiver, but he caught the ball in space and he went to lower his head. And there you saw one of the defenders for the LA Rams lower his head as well. And it was a peanut punch, Tillman type punch, and boom, the ball came right out. LA Rams recovered it. Game over. Honestly, good game by the Rams. That's my take.
Yeah, the Texans actually scored more times than the Rams. The problem was they didn't get in the end zone. They kicked 3 field goals, and the Rams scored touchdowns, and that was the difference in the game. They had a play where Higgins almost made a spectacular catch for a massive play because they were backed up. I think it was a 2nd and 20, backed up, maybe inside their own 10. And it was just a stunning play. They just had a holding penalty, I think, to set that up. And then Kobe Durant just went and took his ball away and intercepted it. It was an incredible play, and I think that may be the play of the game, the difference in the game right there. It's an amazing play, game-changing play, turning point, and they got it done. All right. That's it for our Red Zone review. That's all the Sunday afternoon games. So let's shift our focus and talk about the Sunday football game. The Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens 41-40. Nelson, what were your takeaways?
This turned into being an instant classic, game of the year candidate already. You got both the MVPs, top quarterbacks in the NFL on the biggest stage on Sunday Night Football, and unbelievable performances by both. We saw Josh Allen make plays with his legs. We saw Josh Allen make plays with his arm. It's incredible. But give credit to where credit's due. Lamar Jackson, I mean, he proved it why he's probably the best mobile quarterback, also passing quarterback in the NFL. I mean, from where he started to now. The Ravens did take a big lead, and they never looked back at the majority of the game, with the exception of the last, like I said, 5-6 minutes. And Lamar had this beautiful scramble play. I think he scrambled for 60 yards for a touchdown. It was just unbelievable. Some of the throws, too, that he was able to make as well were just unbelievable as well by him. And that catch by DeAndre Hopkins, oh my God, I jumped off my couch. When I saw that one-handed grab, I said, this is vintage DeAndre Hopkins, the guy I used to see in... Oh my Lord! What a catch! It had everything.
Back in Houston and Arizona, we saw him make those
unbelievable, unbelievable
throwback. Yeah,
unbelievable. And then you saw Josh Allen after that, and they said, "Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to answer literally what it was a do or die on their. They were down by two scores, and he had to throw this one ball straight into the right side of the end zone." And luckily, the wide receiver caught it off another hot potato play, off a couple of tips. It was just you can't make this up. You cannot even script it. And then the defense gets put on as soon as they pin them back off the kickoff. The defense makes a play. Ed Oliver, believable. He might be one of the most underrated defensive players in the NFL. He definitely had his own against Derrick Henry, and he caused that fumble. And as soon as that fumble happened, I said, "Uh-oh. The Bills are going to win this game." And then, boom, Josh Allen, dart to the backup tight end, literally on a post route. He catches it. They get in the end zone. And then they hold the Ravens to a 3-and-out. The Ravens were contemplating should we go for it on 4th down or not. But Josh Allen just turned into a superhero, Superman with his throws, with his legs, marching straight down the field. I mean, we saw that ball on the left-hand side down to Keon Coleman. I mean, just... Listen, we saw 2 of the best quarterbacks, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful game. Definitely game of the year by my standards. What's your take, Chris?
If I am the Baltimore Ravens, I am sick to my stomach. And it's not because they blew a 15-point lead late. It's not that simple. That's not why. That can happen. It's because of how it transpired. So I want to go back first and touch on the end of the first half. John Harbaugh completely mismanaged his timeouts. First of all, it's called a timeout. Used to stop the clock. They're using it to set up their defense or their offense to give them a break, and it backfired. Now, before the 4th down, it worked out because they did convert. But on the defensive side of things, in the ensuing possession, when they call one, they got the completed pass anyway. Why don't we get the field goal to the Bills? But that's not what I'm referring to. It's when they had the ball and kicked their field goal. They sent the kicker out just to kick the ball with the clock winding down instead of running it down to a second on the play clock and calling timeout. They kicked the
Mhm.
ball actually with 3 seconds left on the play clock, and I was watching. I was like, I wonder how big those 2 seconds will wind up being. Well, the guy's
Mm.
butt hit out of bounds with 1 second left for the Bills and allowed them to kick the field goal. Now, you can make the case the Bills maybe execute differently and still get that field goal. I'm not saying it came down to that, but I'm watching that end of the half, and I'm like, that field goal could wind up being massive. And it did. It potentially made the
Yeah,
difference in the game. But that's not the play I'm referencing, and I'll come to that because the sequence of events was just crazy. So
it
DeAndre
was.
Hopkins had that spectacular catch you mentioned, and they're going around celebrating, and a fan shoves DeAndre Hopkins and then shoves Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson shoves him back. Fan is ultimately ejected. But it was a weird sequence, and it just felt like this turning point of sorts. And then the Ravens actually got the stop and got the ball back, but ultimately had to punt to the Bills, and this is the play that I think cost the Ravens the game. They down the punt on the 1 yard line, but his glove is barely touching the tip of the goal line, so they ruled it a touchback. I mean, it was
I remember
unbelievable.
this.
That should
Yep.
have been down to inside the one at like the inch yard line and forced the
Yeah.
Bills to have to drive the length of the field, which they wound up driving down for a touchdown, and maybe they would have anyway, and maybe they would have done it in a timely enough fashion to allow them to
Yeah,
still
I
get the
I
win at the
agree.
end. But that can't happen. You need to execute. And we constantly see this from these Ravens. They beat themselves when they lose. And at a certain point in time, you have to put it on John Harbaugh and just start to question why his team doesn't execute well enough. Because for most of the game, as the Ravens are rolling to 40 points, are sitting there going, this team, this offense looks
Oh,
unstoppable. They look amazing. They're just so talented. And to go back a moment, after the altercation with the fan, the extra point doinked off the upright, to quote John Madden, no good, so they missed that and they lose the game by 1 point. So there's your difference right there. To be fair, the Bills failed on a couple of, actually three 2 point conversion attempts.
yes,
So they
two
could have had
point
an additional
conversions.
3 points
Yes.
on the board if
Mm-hmm.
not for that.
Yep.
So the Ravens now have, and then the touchdown, the first touchdown for the Bills, the ball is somehow deflected by Dawson Knox right to Keon Coleman and the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, that's a miracle. How can that possibly happen? It reminded me of 12 years ago. You mentioned the 2013 game, so I'll do the same thing with Peyton Manning's former team, the Colts. You had that wild card game with Colts at Chiefs, and Andrew Luck had that play where
Oh,
they fumbled and the ball somehow
oh,
bounced right to him, and he ran in the end zone for
yeah,
the touchdown. They had that crazy comeback win over Kansas City in the
yeah,
wild card game.
yeah,
That's what it
yeah.
reminded me of. It's just the ball's bouncing your way. It's just a fluke thing.
Y-
Somehow the
And
ball's bouncing your
yeah,
way, and then talk with the ball bouncing their way. You have the fumble, which set them up again, and then this is my biggest nitpick with John Harbaugh is you had the completed pass for a 7 yard gain on 3rd and 10 instead of a 4th and 3. They should have gone for it. Instead they punted. The Bills went down and got the field goal anyway, and they did it like that. So you actually would have been better off to have them kick the field goal faster to allow you time to go down the other way since it happened anyway. Go for it. Going back 16 years ago to another Sunday football game, that famous Colts-Patriots game when Bill Belichick infamously went for it on 4th and 2 and didn't get it. Peyton Manning hits Reggie Wayne to cap off a crazy comeback in that one with the game-winning touchdown.
yeah,
But it's because he didn't believe his defense based on what he'd seen all game and what that offense was could stop them.
yeah.
John Harbaugh should have done the same thing. You weren't stopping the Bills at that point at all. And
No,
so just go for it and try to win the game right then and there. Instead, you give them the ball back with the punt, and they went down and they won the game as time expired. And I put it on John Harbaugh, but it was the ball should have been down at the one of the punt, and they should have gone for it in the 4th down. Those two plays cost them the game, and then some time management. I put it on John Harbaugh. It's on John Harbaugh. I'm sorry, John Harbaugh. You'll be in the Hall of Fame, but that one was on you, and
yeah.
it's immensely frustrating. I just want to see execution. I'm not trying to take away from this classic game.
He's been known for it.
I need to see execution. It bothers me watching a football game when I don't see execution, and it takes away from my pure enjoyment of the game because I have to see execution.
Well, he's been known for it, but I think, we were kind of harping on it earlier, right, with some of these games where it's just, the team is just meant to essentially win. There were so many things happening the Bills' way. There's something about that Bills magic in that stadium. I know I was saying earlier on one of our discussions on one of our earlier episodes, you got to get the Bills +3 whenever they're at home. I mean, there's something magical about them playing there, and especially Josh Allen. He always lives up to the hype. I mean, you talked about how, well, even if they let them score faster, per se, right? Well,
No,
there
no,
was an
no.
instance.
I
Well,
never said they should let them score. I just meant that by failing on fourth down, if that was the case, it would have caused them to score faster and allowed you time to go the other way, potentially. We don't know exactly how it would have played out. I'm just throwing that out there. That's your worst case scenario because the way things did play out, which we could all foresee coming, except for John Harbaugh, apparently. I knew it was coming. It
well,
didn't
my
work. You
well,
need to just take the chance and go for it.
my question to you is, if I was Harbaugh, why wouldn't you in that case, right? And I'm just talking. This is just for fun conversation, just to keep
Yeah,
it quick.
yeah.
That tackle that literally kept the wide receiver from literally
Oh,
going into
Jair
the end
Alexander
zone.
tackling
That
Keon
shoot.
Coleman.
Yeah. If he would have let him walk in, I would have
I'm
put all my money
no,
in the basket to say that Baltimore's
no.
going to go
I
down and
am
win the game.
I am never a proponent of
Really? With three
allowing a team to
timeouts in their
score.
pocket.
No, I'm
With three
never
timeouts in their pocket.
I'm never a proponent of allowing a team to score. First of all, how often do we
Mm.
see those field goals missed? Younghoe Koo missed. How often do we see them blocked?
Okay.
Just look at the game in Kansas City last year with the Broncos. Broncos are lining up to kick a game-winning field goal, and the Chiefs block it. I mean, no one could see that coming. It was unbelievable. It was a miracle, but it did happen. So that can happen. You never know how that's going to go, but if you allow them to score, you guarantee they have the lead. I'm not. That's not playing a sport. Your job is to prevent them from scoring. You do everything you possibly can. If they end up making the field goal, wind up making the field goal, so be it. But your job is to stop them from scoring. You do everything you can. I'm never a proponent of allowing teams to score.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
completely
when it
opposed to
comes
it.
down, no, well, I mean, when it comes down to essentially, because now Buffalo has the advantage. When it comes down to these two teams are the best teams in the AFC when it comes to playoff time, and one team clearly beat you in one game by 1 point, and it's because they're number one and you're number two. I mean, you're going to try to go all out and try to find every method in the book. Now, granted, you're right from a football scheme standpoint, but I'm just thinking outside the box at that standpoint, saying, well, what do I have to do in order to steal this game? Because I need this game. I need to be able to have this game in my back pocket should I be the number one seed overall. Because I don't want to come back to Orchard Park and play against Josh Allen against Buffalo Bills, but I'll leave it at that. But that's my
No, I just
wherewithal with my
look.
thinking.
The Buffalo Bills cannot stop Derrick Henry. The past 2 years, 3 games, he's absolutely
No,
destroyed them every
no,
time.
no,
They
no.
and they cannot stop Lamar Jackson. He was incredible. He did turn the ball over. Derrick
Yeah,
Henry did, but Lamar Jackson did not turn the ball over. So you can't knock him for that. He had a great game, great
yeah.
game.
Zay
And
Flowers too.
Zay Flowers, you beat me to the punch. Zay Flowers, who didn't play in that playoff game, he struggled in the first half. They're great in coverage, but then they had to focus their attention on loading the box up to stop the run, particularly Derrick Henry, but Lamar Jackson as well. And that let Zay Flowers get one-on-one coverage, and
Yep.
he took advantage of it and was outstanding. He dominated. And look, I get it. The Bills were without their veteran cornerback, Tre'Davious White. They were without their first-round rookie draft pick, rookie cornerback as well. But the Ravens were out without their first-team All-Pro fullback, Patrick Ricard, and their tight end, Isaiah Likely. So if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I feel like we get those guys back, we're fully healthy, and we actually execute and play a good game. I don't care where the game's played. We're better than the Buffalo Bills. We've proven that over the past 2 years, playing them 3 times. We've been better
Fair
all the
enough.
time. It's just little things like injuries and
Yeah,
failure to execute have gone against us. But
bad luck.
that's their story, and it's so frustrating. And I
Yeah.
get it, the Bills are sitting there going, well, if we have our cornerbacks, I don't think that's the same as the guys that the Ravens are
No.
missing. We'll find out. Who knows? But
Right.
that's just the way that I look at it, and it was just very frustrating. But one last
Fair
thing,
point.
Keon Coleman had a great game. That's the only other thing. I
Yes, he
would say. Great
did.
game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Keon Coleman did.
What were your U.S. Open takeaways? Talking some tennis.
Listen, I thought Sabalenka definitely deserved her victory over Anisimova. She was just too powerful at the very end. I knew that the U.S. Open coverage, especially ESPN, they were showing a live picture of how Anisimova, unlike the other tennis players, she was able to actually have her more backed up against the boundary, if you will, and by it was like 3 feet or something from all the rest of the tennis players. So she was giving her problems, but the problem is Anisimova just had no answer for Sabalenka's serve. I mean, no answer at all. And then even though Sabalenka would give her one wave, she would counter one in the first round, or excuse me, the first set, I guess you want to call it, and then the second one as well. It was the same thing, back and forth. Sabalenka just had an answer. And then even when they went to essentially the tiebreaker up to seven, Sabalenka was just too much with her power, with her serve, no answer whatsoever. So props to Sabalenka. I think she's the queen of the hardcore too. So until someone knocks her off, essentially the hardcore, whether it's Melbourne or US, she's always going to be number one. And then my thoughts also with Alcaraz and Sinner. This was definitely not like the Wimbledon. This was definitely not like the French Open as well. But I thought this was a good effort by Sinner. Definitely Alcaraz was just on a whole nother level. If anybody did not know, there was an interesting stat. I caught this the other day. Alcaraz did not drop one set
Up until the
the
second set against
entire
Yannick Sinner in the
tournament
final. Up
leading
until that
into
second
Sinner.
set. Yeah.
And it was just I mean, listen, he was just a man on a mission this whole entire Wimbledon. I was watching some of his previous matches. He had some incredible plays. I mean, the skill with the racket that he has to be able to do some of these unbelievable volleys and stuff. I mean, it's just unreal. And the way he was able to, basically put out his forehand against Sinner's backhand essentially and control him from the jump. I mean, the only real set that he gave him was the second one, like you stated. Beyond that, I mean, he was just literally controlling the whole match from the start. And what I love about these two athletes, if anybody did not know, Alcaraz is 10-5 now against him. These are some of the best competitors, but also at the same token, I love their sportsmanship. At the very end, they were close to one another, holding the trophies, congratulating one another. I love this partnership. Now, granted, you might take it a different spin, Chris, where it's like you want to see this kind of like rivalry, if you will, and be able to have, especially in tennis. But in the sportsmanship that is tennis,
Yeah.
I really, really do appreciate this. I
Yeah.
really, really do. And if this didn't cap off anybody, honestly, to what we saw again with the Wimbledon, how Sinner won, and now we saw Alcaraz win with the U.S. Open men's. Honestly, we're witnessing again another wonderful rivalry in tennis, with the last one being Federer and Nadal. And this is only going to take it to levels we haven't seen before because they're so young. It's crazy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, to touch on really quick what you were saying. First of all, I went to see the hostility in football, which we did plenty this weekend, and in hockey, those team contact sports
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they're
yeah.
kind of beating each other up. I went to see it there. But tennis is much more of a gentleman's sport, and you want to see the sportsmanship and the courtesy. Yes, when they're playing against each other, I want to see the intensity, absolutely. But afterwards, after the match, that's part of what the game is built upon and what professional tennis is built upon, and you have to appreciate and respect that. So
Right.
I do want to see that there. It's important. I think this was an outstanding U.S. Open. It was a great tournament across the board with both the men's and
Yeah.
women's and the doubles and men's and women's. We saw a ton of great tennis. We saw some great performances. I think we have some great players who
Yeah.
are really starting to separate themselves from the pack and show how great they are. And
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was really exciting in that regard. I mean, what it
Mm-hmm.
took to beat some of these top players, the volleys, just to get a point on them, let alone a game or even a set. I mean, to win a set against these guys was just so tough. I mean, they were so good. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on the women's side,
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Anisimova coming off that Wimbledon final when it was extremely disappointing and really just flat out embarrassing for her to not be able to get a game. This was a great job to get back to a final. Yes, she
Yes.
lost
Yes.
again, but and look, to go back a little bit, let's give some credit to Naomi Osaka. And I like seeing that for the women's game, and we talked about it. We're looking for stars to emerge in the women's game. There's no Ash Barty, so we need these players to step up. She finally gets back to a semifinal.
Yes.
It's a great run for her. She beat
Yes.
Coco Gauff in a massive Labor Day Monday afternoon
Mm-hmm.
match in the round of 16.
Hard game.
She
Yep.
dominated her. She was so impressive in that
Mm-hmm.
run to the
Mm-hmm.
semifinal, but then unfortunately she ran into Sabalenka, which, number one player in the world, back-to-back U.S.
Yeah.
Open champs. She was outstanding. So
Mm-hmm.
it was awesome to see across the board. I mean, Venus
Yep.
Williams in doubles with this young girl advancing as far as they did, I think, to the round of 8. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So just a lot of fun stuff to see. And then in terms of the final, the women's singles final, I give credit to Amanda Anisimova. She kept battling back. I mean, it looked like she was dead in the
Yes.
water a number of times, and she just kept
Yep.
battling back and somehow staving it off. And you could see Arena Sabalenka was getting a little rattled, a little uncomfortable. Like, whoa, I mean,
Yeah.
what's happening? And I mean, she had to ultimately go to a tie break, and it took her until championship point number 3 to finally get rid of her.
Yep.
It was inevitable. You knew it was coming. It's just the first set was too dominant, and it had been throughout to that point. It was
Yep.
just too little, too late. But that was fun to watch, and it was impressive. And credit to her for regaining her composure and finishing it off and getting
Yeah.
it done.
And this should give her confidence going forward. Like literally that maybe
Both
she
of
can
them.
hang around with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
now I think if you could throw Naomi Osaka in the mix and Coco Gauff is in the mix, we have a few different American women who have had tremendous years this year. And then let's not forget about Iga Swiatek, who was very good as well. So
Yeah.
we're seeing some really good tennis. And on the men's side of things, that rivalry is just outstanding with those two young guys, and Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. I mean, what they have done this year, and really before this year as well, but it's just been so fun to watch. And Carlos Alcaraz is incredible talent, and what he did throughout that tournament was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
And
it was
to
insanity.
take the final, he was so impressive throughout. I mean,
Yeah.
I know like you, I was watching football, but from what I saw, he was so impressive. And then in the semifinal against Novak Djokovic, I mean, look, Djokovic is still probably not in that mix. He's a step behind those guys, which he continues to be forced to acknowledge every single major tournament at this point. But he's still playing at a really high level and beating everyone else.
Yeah.
And some of the rallies between him and Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinal, just for him to be able to get a point, to get a game.
Yeah.
It was amazing how hard it is to get that against Carlos Alcaraz. He's just so good. And I mean, to win a set against Jannik Sinner in this tournament was so tough as well up until the final. So it's really impressive, and it was really awesome to see, and I'm really happy about it, and I love
You're correct.
where the sport might be going. And I agree with you. This is the best rivalry we have seen in over 15 years. You have to go back to Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal before Novak Djokovic came onto the scene and got into that mix.
Yep.
And now we're seeing Novak Djokovic kind of transition to these guys, and they're taking over as the great rivalry in tennis. So
100%.
it's been awesome. It's been great. Great U.S. Open, great tournament. So very happy with that. But hey, guys, that's all we have for today. So again, check us out. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow our social media, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. But for Nelson Jordan, I'm Chris Nelson. This has been the First and Final Word.